I'm Mason.
And you know it's good when you hear Right Company.
Woo! Here we are. Before we get started, I do want to have a small disclaimer because our last review really got out of hand in the public's reaction. So I'm going to put this in front now. I am not forcing you to watch this video. Sam is not forcing you to watch this video. I'm not trying to change your opinion, so why are you trying to change mine? We are just here to have fun. And we gave Game Boys a good review, but I got a lot of very condescending and honestly just some very rude people in the comments for things that I don't think were really worth it. So if you don't want to hear any criticism of a show that you like, we are not the channel for you. We weren't even mean in our Game Boys review. Sam said it was her favorite boys love that she had ever seen. But still, it became our most downvoted and most, hated video for what? You know, it was, I just thought people were super rude. Like, I get that you're proud of this show, but that doesn't mean you need to attack me and be an asshole to me because I said I critiqued parts of it. We gave it a good review. We gave it 8.5 out of 10. That's a really good review. If you want someone to give you a 10 out of 10 reviews, we're not the channel. I'm not making you watch this video. Click away. If you don't like to hear the critique, don't show up. All right?
I feel similarly. I get that Game Boys is a big deal. This is like the first huge boys love moment in Filipino boys love, and I get that there's a lot of pride associated with it. I get that it's something that at least those people on the LGBTQIA plus spectrum have not had for their media, and with that, a lot of people are sensitive because a critique kind of feels personal to them. But our critiques are not meant to be personal against anybody associated with the show or anybody who this lifestyle happens to mirror. It's actually quite the opposite. And I put this in my comment that I left on our last video. I am a Black woman. Mason is a gay man. We are minorities in the country that we're in. He is a sexual minority. I am an ethnic minority. And because of that, we have a personal stake in seeing our portrayals uplifted and to see new things happen in the portrayal of people of color and other minorities and other marginalized groups. And so our critique of Game Boys was not at all a critique saying that Elijah's a bad person, that Kakoi's a bad person, that the writer, directors are bad people. That's not what it was. It was really about, because this is such a new field for the Philippines and there's not a large boys love history in the Philippines, we were trying to get to, these are the things that could be worked on, could be refined, could be made better. And we also realized there were a lot of things that could not be helped due to coronavirus, due to filming restrictions, everything else like that. But hopefully one day we will get out of these godforsaken times. And if we get out of it, these are tips and pointers and other things that we pointed out because I personally want to see the genre build in the Philippines. I think they're doing a lot of really creative stuff right now that I want to see more of. And as more money gets funneled into the genre, I want to see it progress because right now I'm watching a lot of stuff and I can tell you Thailand is not progressing. It's getting a bit boring. It's getting a bit played, and I don't want that for the Philippines. So that's the reason why the critiques that we have nothing to do with having a hate for the show. If nothing else, it's actually, these are our desires, these are our wishes for continued success. And I wish that people would have taken it that way, but I can get, again, why it's very personal for people. Our critiques are not personal. It may be personal to you in terms of your love for the show, but for us, this really is about giving an adequate and thorough review of the way we perceive the show. So with that being said, prepare to have your heart broke talking about Until We Meet Again.
Mm-hmm.
So Mason, would you like to do the rundown of Until We Meet Again?
No, you can do it. I think I did last week's.
Okay. Until We Meet Again. Oh, can you do the trigger warning for Until We Meet Again? Because that's very important.
Oh, trigger warning for suicide, like off the bat. It's gonna be there.
Yeah. This show is about a young couple who were dating in the late 80s, and they were a homosexual couple that committed suicide. Then we jump to present day, and we have a young couple who instantaneously, when they meet, they feel a very strong reaction to one another, and they realize they are the reincarnated souls of the couple that died in the late 80s. And the story is about the relationship of the modern couple, but also unraveling the past and the unfinished business of the 80s couple.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of the main storyline for this. And then, of course, there's assorted friends and shenanigans, but that's the main thrust of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we have gone character by character for this one. But this is a little bit tough to do character by character because there's a lot of overlapping characters for this.
Yeah.
So I kind of am not sure where I want to go with. So I'm going to start at the very beginning, the very first 10 minutes of this show. In subsequent episodes of the show, they do have a disclaimer, a viewer discretion notice to let you know that you are going to see depictions of graphic violence, suicide on camera. But I started watching the show from day one, minute one. I remember hearing about the show being announced. I had heard the synopsis. I knew that it was a reincarnation story. I still was not prepared to see two people shoot themselves in the head in the first 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how anyone can ever be prepared for that, but a little bit of viewer discretion advised would have been handy because, first of all, I don't necessarily think that needed to be put on screen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, once you hear the gunshot, that's really enough. Mm-hmm. But he not only, Korn, the main, one of the main characters from the 80s, not only shoots himself in the head, we then get a shot of him on the ground lying in a pool of blood. Mm-hmm. Then we get in shooting himself in the head, and then you see the blood spatter on Korn's body. And I just have to say, while it is a very impactful thing to see, at the same time, as a person who's had suicide affect my family and knowing a lot of other people who've had suicide affect their families, I think a little bit more sensitivity could have been put into the conversation, could have been put into deciding what to actually show on camera, especially because this particular scene of Korn lying in blood and in laying on his chest with blood gets flashed back to several times throughout the show. Mm-hmm. And frankly, it's quite disturbing.
It is. It's to start your show with a graphic suicide scene. I don't know if I think that was the right move, but it is what it is. I just wish that... I'm glad that I was warned, because Sam had seen it before me. She started the series when it started. I started it like a month after it started. So Sam had warned me. She was like, yeah, get through that first part quick. And just keep going.
Yeah. And the reason I bring it up first in our review, too, is because I know there's some of you who watch our shows, or not our shows, but watch our blog to watch the shows we talk about. And you go into it with different backgrounds as well. And if this is something that's extremely sensitive to you, you've been warned, because it's going to come out of nowhere several times. Yeah. Several times it will come out of nowhere. Like, I think they didn't start doing disclaimers maybe until around the 4th episode, but it already rewound itself a couple of different times by then. So Just be aware. Okay, so the setup is our main couple from the 80s, Korn and In, they were lovers, had been lovers for at least a year, because there's a scene of them celebrating their first anniversary. And the problem is that Korn's father is a mafia boss, and he wants to pressure his son to go into the mafia. He's the only son of his family, and his dad is like, I don't want you involved with a mafioso guy at all, but also, you can't be gay. I'm not going to accept you being gay. And with Korn, it is not only, I'm not going to accept you being gay, because that's an embarrassment to me, a mafia boss, but also, I want you to be the leader of the mafia family, and if you don't do that, I'm going to make your little brother do it instead. So there's a lot of things going on, and I really think it's important to mention that because I'll be honest with you, up until I think maybe the second to last episode, I did not understand why Korn killed himself. It took me a minute to figure it out. I did not think the idea of him and his lover being separated was enough for him to pull the trigger. But there was one other thing that happens, like, I think episode 15, in a flashback scene, where the father has a picture of him and his boyfriend together and says, if you don't leave him alone, bad things are going to happen to him.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happened, I'm like, I get it now. He didn't kill himself because of prolonged depression, even though some of that was there. I think it had a lot more to do with the fact that he felt like, if I kill myself, it's going to be better for everybody. My father won't be ashamed. My boyfriend will be safe from my father if I kill myself. And he can go on about his life because I'm bringing misery to everybody's situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish that had been more of the conversation, or at least brought to light a little bit sooner than the end, because I really grappled with that. I still grapple with the fact that In Touch killed himself immediately afterwards. I don't know if it's because he was caught up in the moment and the emotions were just so overwhelming and the gun was right there. But I just remember thinking to myself when I watched this, just the fundamental basis of this action, I don't understand.
Yeah, I didn't understand why they killed themselves. I understand why. I guess it was shock that an adult in the room didn't immediately take the gun, you know?
Yeah. It
Yeah,
was just,
but I get you, because it is a little bit like, was it worth it? No offense. Like, this seems to be like a thing that you can argue about at home, and like, it'll be tough for a while, but, you know, you're in high school, you'll eventually get out of the house and it'll work itself out.
yeah. And also, I mean, to be fair, watching it, hindsight being 2020, I was like, this was never going to work. And I don't say that to be mean to anybody. I say that because, okay, they bought a condo in this building, but this condo could not have been far from where either one of them lived. With your dad being a mob boss, he's not going to let you live in the condo in peace. And he's obviously going to do something to sabotage that anyway. Also, where were you getting the money for this condo? Probably from your dad. And so, again, it's just like, this was always destined to have a bad ending just because of the times you were living in and your life circumstances. But I'd like to think that even if it was destined to have a bad ending, it's a bad ending that everybody could live through in some form or another. It didn't have to end like this.
Yeah.
Which makes, if you didn't have this, of course you wouldn't have the rest of the show. But it also, like I said, feels like a very faulty place to start a show. The other reason why I have problems with this is because by the end of the show, only one of the people in current times is taking psych meds, and that is Parm, not Dean.
Mm-hmm.
But in the past, Korn committed suicide first. And it seems like if there's a carryover of emotions and personalities and maybe even mental health status, they would both be on medication.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I found that to be a little bit inconsistent as well.
Maybe they were trying to go for like, there was like, we'll get to it probably a little bit later, but there was that scene where Parm goes back to the site of the shooting and he goes, "You are the one that hurt me the most." And maybe that's like the carryover that they're thinking.
Maybe. That could very well be it. So that's as much as I really want to say about that particular scene and kind of the way I felt about it. Now let's get on to the meet cute, because the meet cute in this story is really nice. I have to say, I enjoyed a lot of kind of the setup for everybody at the beginning, like how the friend group got started, where everybody is in life. But then when Dean and Parm finally actually catch eyes on each other, I remember thinking, wow, this is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So when it starts out, Parm is a freshman at this university. I think it's Pyongyang, maybe. And he is on his first day of freshman orientation, and he meets a couple of other kids from his school of economics in line. And he's like, "Hi, my name is Manal. Hi, my name is Team. Hey, since we're in line together, let's just be friends." I was like, I love
I love
this.
that. Because it's like college, and it's kind of like that you kind of just get friends with your roommate automatically because you're like, you're the only other bitch I know here, so we might as well go get dinner. Like, it's just, that's how college is.
Yeah, so I really appreciated that. And like, not only do they get to know each other right away, but a couple of really cool things happen. And I don't know if you caught them. So in the first episode, they're sitting in the cafeteria and a loud noise happens and Parm gets scared. And
Uh-huh.
his friends are like, "Are you okay? How can we help you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I've always had a little bit of problem with like loud noises." And they start to ask him, "Okay, so is it every loud noise? Is it like if you're at a swim meet and like the gun goes off, would that trigger you?"
Mm,
But then they stop. And I found that to be a really cool moment that they asked him what his boundaries and his guidelines were, but they didn't ask him to relive his trauma. They didn't ask him, "Well, what caused you to be scared of loud noises?"
right.
Instead, they just want to know what sets it off for you because they want to be mindful in the future and not take him to events that would trigger him. And I'm like, this is actually really great.
Yeah, they're really good friends.
Yeah,
I
so
really like
I really
it
like that part.
throughout the whole show.
Oh, throughout the whole show.
Yeah.
From the very first episode to the very last episode, that friend group is amazing.
Hmm. They actually had a scene in the last episode. I was watching it this morning and I got teary-eyed. And I think it was because like we've been locked up for 6 months now, and I haven't seen any friends or family. Like I saw Sam, but like there's certain things that I miss doing with friends. And one of them, I love getting Korean barbecue with friends, like getting a couple friends. It's late at night. You drink some beer and you just eat some Korean barbecue and you just have some laughs. And it's like they had a scene where they were doing that in the last episode. And I just was like, friendship. Like I miss that.
Yeah. So
I love them.
so that was cool. And then we were introduced to Dean and Win at the swim meet where a team is trying out for the swim club.
Mm-hmm.
And of course they walk in like the badasses they are, but you already get a hint then that like something is different because Parm is like he saw Dean kind of walking through the school, but then when he sees him at the swim meet, he's like, "I feel it again." And Dean, like out of the corner of his eye, sees this yellow backpack. He's like, "There's something over there that I need to pay attention to."
Mm-hmm.
So by the time they meet each other in the grocery store and he's reaching for the mung beans and Dean gets them down for him, it's like, y'all have been dancing around it only for a little while, but already when you finally are in close proximity, I'm ready to cry. Like
Mm-hmm.
Parm starts crying and I'm like, "Me too! It finally happened!"
They do a really good job making you feel like, oh, these two really are destined to be together. They
Mm.
feel it, we feel it. Um, that like first 6 episodes where they just kind of get together is really solid.
Oh, absolutely. And this is before they tell you explicitly that they are reincarnated souls. They
Right.
don't actually say that they're reincarnated for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And so just through context clues, you pick up, oh, these two people are linked and they are linked deep.
Mm-hmm.
So I really, really appreciated that. Um, the first 6 episodes, I really like the fact that they didn't dwell on the 80s couple because it gave us a little bit more space to kind of see the courtship of Dean and Parm. It let us have a love rival, which was kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But it let us kind of, stay a little bit more in university life and, the issues of current young people. And I really, really liked that.
Mm-hmm.
Even Alex, the guy from the drama club, I mean, I'm not fond of the actor really, but I thought it was kind of cool that like he was used somewhat as a catalyst to get Dean and Parm to publicly declare that they are dating.
Right.
Yeah. And then he like smooth walks away, and I'm like, thank you. Keep going. I hate when people pursue somebody they know has a boyfriend. Keep going.
He left when he needed to. I think the show did a really good job with when they do like kind of come out as like a couple. They do a really good job of never having like any weird like, oh, we can't do this in public. Like they're very affectionate in public, very sweet to each other. There was no weird like hesitations there, which I liked.
Yeah. Even when they're in the car and Dean is telling Parm that he's single, Parm doesn't shrink back immediately and like, oh no, I'm nervous. Instead he's like, I'm single too. You know, like, and that's the kind of thing that I really like to see, because a lot of times that portrayal of the UK character is a very submissive, timid kind of character. And yes, Parm is probably a bit more conservative than Dean is, a little bit more unsure about things physically. He has a very strong core. And his strong core is that he knows what he wants, and he's not afraid to vocalize what he wants. In later episodes, when he's not ready for a certain level of physical intimacy, he tells Dean, hey, don't ever do that again.
Yeah.
So I do like that. So yeah, I thought it was really good that they didn't pussyfoot around with stuff. They like kind of cut to the chase, and I dig that.
I like that too. I also think a moment that works for that too is in the last episode when he tells Dean, he's like, I think we need some time apart after everything that's happened, just to like figure our own lives out a little bit. I thought that was necessary, and I like that Parm was the one that had initiated that conversation.
Right. So good start, great start. I really enjoy it. Things start to get bad for me after they start dating, and I don't know how to explain it, but I will say this. When I went to watch this series back for this review, I watched it on 2x speed. And literally that is the only way to go. If I could have gone on 3x speed, I absolutely would have. The story drags once they start going together.
This really should have been 12 episodes. I do not know why this is 17 episodes.
I mean, I can only assume that there's a lot in the book that when the director got the source material, he said, well, to keep the fans invested and to insert all the little cute things from the book, it's going to have to be a longer series. Also, I think the popularity of the show, he thought, well, we can get a few more episodes out of this because people really love this shit. But it just, I didn't need as many cooking scenes as we got. I didn't need as many will they, won't they sleep together in this moment scenes as we got. Yeah. There's just a lot of stuff that felt repetitive. I'm so sick of hearing P. Dean and giggling. I really could, if I never see another scene of Fluke on the bed with Ohm in his neck talking about P. Dean, hee. I could live my life without that at this point. Yeah, and it just...
I them crying as much too. Like, I get it's emotional, but I'm sorry. They cried, like, bare minimum 3 times an episode. It's like, come on, guys.
They cried so much. And it, like, another scene that got repeated several times that did not need to be there, waking up from a nightmare. You only got to do that a couple of times. You don't,
What they should have done is, I think, like, what they really should have done is, like, episode 6, they, like, get together, right? And then once they're together, those next 6 episodes should just be the figuring out their past and their history and their like magnetic connection, because we don't really get all the answers until episode 17, and we spend most of our time with them. And I think that's another bad thing about, like, negative about the show. It's we have some really great side characters that also have stories going on, but we don't really have a lot of time to them. Win Team and Manao. Manao is always was a very supportive friend, really funny. We love Manao. We love the actress Sammy. She's great. And she gets a man at the end. She had maybe 4 minutes of screen time with him total. Like, throughout the entire show, she had maybe 4 minutes of screen time, and she's actually the first one of the main cast to, like, meet her love interest, because she meets him in the very first episode at the beginning of it. She's in the
Yeah.
bathroom. Del.
I'm so glad you reminded me because I have not put on any lipstick today, and
I'm just so hungry. I haven't eaten anything today. I'm famished.
Yeah. You know, a girl can't go out the house without her lipstick on. I'm so glad we took care of necessities in this moment.
The boy can't leave without his Funyuns.
I know that's right. Those were our commercial breaks, guys. I hope you appreciate it.
This show also had a lot of commercials.
Oh man, the worst commercial of them all is the commercial where they are in the kitchen making food and Team pulls out a makeup compact and says, "Can we use this kind of flour to make desserts?" I'm like, "Are you dumb? Are you dumb? Who suggests using makeup to make food?"
That was dumb, but some of them were really fun. I like the one where they go to the cosmetic shop and they just start putting lipstick on each other.
That one was cool.
No. Was it cute? Yeah, I had a good time.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I thought it was unsanitary from the very first episode when Manal's in the bathroom and says, "I don't have my eyeliner." Oh, yeah. And then Del, you don't share eyeliners, honey. It's too close to your mucous membranes. That's how people get pink eye.
Yeah.
So, not saying, just saying. But yeah, there are some scenes where it's just like, girl, what are we doing here? But yeah, that scene where he's like, "Let's cook with the makeup." Okay. Commercial obligation made. The other one that was like super dumb is the shabu shabu scene in episode 17 where they're all sitting around and she's putting on eye makeup and like there's just a fume of steam coming up from the shabu shabu pan. I'm like, whatever you're putting on is going to melt away because you're right there by the steam plate. So I was like,
lipstick on his forehead.
Yeah, it's like, you didn't have to do that. But still, it's fun. We have a good time.
It's fun. But I think one of the reasons they didn't spend as much time on the side couples is because I think they were really hoping to get a second, like a spin-off season for Win Team, which they did. But I think that one of the reasons they like kept Win Team really close to their chest was because they were like, hey, you know, we could get a whole series for Win Team. But
man, this rewatch, I forgot how little Win Team we got, and I still am like, why did they hype us up so much? Like, I watched it back, and I think Win Team, if you put all of their scenes together, maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, seriously. And I'm like, why was this the thing? And I figured out what it is, and I have a bone to pick with Boys Love that I'll talk about during my rant section, but I think what it is that we were so kind of caught up in the will they, won't they between Dean and Parm that it was nice to see a couple that absolutely will.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it was like, while y'all are over there being sweet, let's go to sexy times with Winning Team. But I do have a problem with Manal and her relationship that I want to talk about really briefly because I don't know if it's just because the director changed his mind or changed pace. The guy who plays Manal's love interest is hot as shit. Oh, he's literally the only guy on the swim team who actually looks like he belongs on the swim team. Like, huge arms, great face, tall, good-looking kid. Anyway, she has 3 scenes total with him. 1, outside the bathroom, she goes to slip, he catches her. 2nd scene, at the swim competition, she tells him, "Congratulations on 2nd place," and walks away, and he looks after her. 3rd scene, "Hey, I've had my eyes on you, we are friends, I want to date you." And it's like, when did we see them be friends? When did we... I saw more of that guy at swim practice and on the swim camping trip than I saw anywhere else. And you know who got more lines in the show than that guy did before episode 17?
Del?
Fucking Pond from Love by Chance.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, how did this fucking no-name character get more speaking lines than the guy who plays Manal's love interest?
Because he's Pond from Love by Chance.
Even Can from Love by Chance got more like legit conversational screen time. And that kid can't act.
I felt like hatred on my rewatch of this when I saw anyone from Love by Chance, just because season 2 was so fucking awful that I'm like, how dare you be in this show? How dare you be
The only person I didn't hate was Tum. I did not hate Tum. I thought he played a good crit.
He was fine.
Yeah. Fuck all the rest of y'all. That shows, woo! No, not this week. We're not talking about it this week. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, like, I think they did Manal fucking dirty as shit. I would have liked to just anything, you know, fuck. I would have liked to have seen like all of the swim team go out to eat, and then Manal and the guy are sitting next to each other when everybody's hanging out. That would have been cool too. But to pull it off the way they did, it was just like, this is fucking dumb. Also, it's not lost on me how they always write into storylines where Sammy is at that she's fat. Let's be very clear about one thing. She is not fat.
I do not like that. Her character's always making jokes about this diet that will never start. And I don't like that.
They always talk about her diet. They always talk about her weight. They always talk about her breath smelling bad, which I'm like, why is that a constant thing too? Because they talked about her breath smelling bad in Love by Chance as well. Mm-hmm. But also with Sammy, the thing that bothers me is they always make her seem like Superman hungry, but no man ever wants her. And I was glad she got a man in this one. And even she was like, finally got a man! You know? I get you, because you deserve. But I'm also like, why can't she be in a role, or somebody write a role for her, where she is very desired? Because she is desired. There are a lot of men who would give their left nut to be in a relationship with Sammy. Mm-hmm. So why are we acting like she's not attractive? She's obviously attractive enough to keep getting these roles in these shows. So why is it that she's got to be the punching bag? I don't like it. I don't fucking like it.
I don't like it either. Hopefully she gets a win soon.
I hope so too, because she was beautiful in this show.
Like, I would love it if in the Win Team series, the B couple is Manal and her boyfriend.
I would love that too.
I don't need too much more of Dean and Parm. You've seen so much of them. And I like them, but I don't need a lot of them. We know their story. Give me Win Team and Manal and her boyfriend. I don't even know the guy's name. I literally don't know.
Right! We don't even know the guy's fucking name because he is so not a thing.
Yeah. Mr. No Name. I don't fucking know. Steve.
Let's talk about another character that got a name, but, I mean, does fuck all in this show. Sin. I don't know if you guys can tell from my beautiful hair here. This is a tribute to Parm's cousin / next door neighbor Sin. This guy could not act his way out of a paper sack, and you guys did not help him by giving him that awful wig that you put on his head.
It was a bad wig.
It was a terrible wig. And like, when I found out later on that Dune from My Engineer had a wig on, it made me feel like, what game are we playing?
That wig was unclockable, Sam.
I mean, almost a year later, it's like, a wig? For real? The fucking best. Meanwhile, we've got this one over here with a fucking Party City wig, and it's just, why are we doing this? What is this about? But I bring him up because he is the next door neighbor / the cousin of Parm, and him and his boyfriend Sorn are connected with Dean too. So he's like one of the few characters outside of the friend group that's connected to both of the main characters. Right. And they gave that guy nothing. I don't know if it's because the guy is a bad actor. I would assume so. But like, he had no emotional range. When he was upset, when he was happy, when he was surprised. What are we doing? And then to throw that fucking horrible ass wig on his head, like, seriously, what are we doing?
I think the only redeeming thing about him is that him and his boyfriend were really hot. And his boyfriend looks like Park Bo-gum. And that made me, I just thought it was funny.
The guy is cute. He's going to be in Tharn Type 7 years later.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, and like, there's pictures of him without a wig. He's a fine looking guy. So I don't know what the hell are we doing? Even if he had to have long hair, there's hair extensions you could put in. Like, there's so many other options than what y'all did.
Yeah.
And I just don't get it. Also, side note, does Parm happen to have an unlimited supply of gift bags?
He probably just buys them at the store.
because like I swear every time he's delivering dessert, it's in a gift bag, and I'm just like, do you just have these lying around the house? Do you have like a box full of gift bags just in case you decide to make desserts one night?
Girl, Amazon.
It's just so weird. Just,
He's
you
like,
know,
I need
side note.
100 gift bags from Amazon. Give them to me now.
Yeah. I cook a lot. I need these. But
Yeah.
yeah, his character was fucking useless. Other side characters connected to both main characters. I liked Dell and Dawn. I thought that they were a really cute brother and sister.
And I really liked that Harm's character really helped them get more connected with Dean. I just thought that it was a nice way to show how, I just thought it was nice. Like, oh, they really are helping each other become better people in some way. You know, he's really helping Dean open up. I really liked that. And Dell and her brother were both very funny. And I honestly wish there were more scenes where it's all of them in college together, like Dell, her brother, Parm, Win Team, Dean, Sammy, and her boyfriend. Like, give me that scene where they're all just happy.
Yeah, I would have loved that because like there's a lot of scenes where Parm is with Manow and team, and then Dean shows up by himself, and those are scenes where like if Dell and Don were just with him when he shows up by himself, that would have been cool by me too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I really like their family dynamic. I really like how, like you were saying, how the main characters help each other be better versions of themselves through kind of Dean not being raised with everybody. I like the fact that they didn't automatically make him seem like a misfit or like the rest of the family is against him. It's like, no, we still love you, even though we weren't all raised together. We're just waiting for you to be comfortable with us.
Right, right.
So I really appreciated that because there's too many shows, A Chance to Love, where siblings fucking hate each other. And so it's just nice to see some siblings that even though they weren't raised together, they're really trying hard to work on their family relationship.
Yeah. I thought both like kind of like coming out scenes were nice with Dean and his parents, and then not Fluke, Harm and his mom and brother. I thought they were nice. I like that the mom very much knew when it came to Parm. You know, you knew growing up, like, he'd walk into the room, talk with his mom, and then leave, and then an aunt would be like, you know, is Parm a little... And the mom would be like, probably.
So yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time. Now let's get to if I think we're done with all the side characters that count for the most part, because there are some other very important side characters, but they're really important in terms of talking about the family web. So let's talk about the family web.
It's tangled.
Indeed. So Corn and In, we've established that Corn's family was kind of a mafioso family. In's family, it was a very small family, mom, dad, bigger sister, and little brother. And the little brother was born many, many years later for the couple. So he was like one of those gotcha babies. Like, oh man, I didn't see this coming. So his sister was, I think, a high school student when he was born. So by the time he's a university student, his sister already has a child. And one thing that I noticed that they put in here that I have never seen before in Boys Love is the discussion of an early divorce. So there was a divorce in Love by Chance, but that was later on when Pete was a lot older. But in a scene in the past where Aylin, who is In Touch's niece, is sitting on his lap, she says, how come I have the same last name as you and mom, but not my dad? And he's like, oh, well, it's just because we love you so much. And they mention about how Aylin's mom, Anne, had a divorce and she lives by herself at the parents' house. And I just found that even though it wasn't discussed much at all, I just thought it was really interesting that they put that in there, because one of the things that this show does highlight, whether it was intentional or not, is like how families relate to each other and the different kinds of family setups we have. So like we have Dean, who was raised by his paternal grandmother since he was 2 years old. And he didn't get to know basically anybody on his mom's side. Then we have Parm, who has a father who died when he was really young, and it's been him and his mom and his little brother, but he doesn't know his dad's side of the family. And this is something that is a real life thing. A lot of us have these kind of separated, smaller ecosystem families. Some people, they know all their extended families, mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, stuff like that. But some of us go through things that force us away from our families. Either they don't accept our lifestyle, or they've done something that's hurt us incredibly, or maybe just through tragedy, we lose touch with each other. And it was really interesting to me to see all of these different kinds of familial relationships pop up in the course of this show.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, back to the web. When Parm and Dean are brought into the world, they switch families.
Mm-hmm.
So Dean, even though he is a reincarnation of Corn, he is born into In Touch's family. Parm, even though he is a reincarnation of In Touch, is born into Corn's family.
Mm-hmm.
And through most of the end of the series, we not only start to figure out their familial relationships and like how everybody's related to everybody, but also we spend a bit of time reconciling the remaining family. Mm-hmm. So we have a moment where Parm gets to meet his sister, Anne. Mm-hmm. And I love that old lady. I don't know what she does with her life, mm-hmm. but like of all the people who had massive crying scenes on this show, hers were the ones I was like, I need to hold you.
Yeah, those are the ones that really got me.
Yeah, because I can only imagine, like, number one, this very painful past being brought up, also meeting the grandchild that you haven't seen in years, and then also like a chance to just say your goodbyes to somebody that you really didn't know you were having to say goodbye to.
Right.
You know, like I can't even imagine, like if a person knocked on my door and said, I am your dad, because I lost my dad when I was, my biological father, I lost him when I was 12. If somebody came to my door and said, I'm your dad, first of all, I wouldn't believe them. Like, get the fuck out of here. But like, if by some chance I actually believed that this person was my dad, and that afforded me a last opportunity to like say all the things I couldn't say before, I would be a utter mess.
Oh yeah.
So I really, really liked that happened. It felt unfortunate that In Touch's father passed away so long ago that he wasn't able to take part in this reunion, but yet Corn's raggedy ass daddy was still alive. And I also felt bad that his mom didn't live, because it seemed like his mom was really supportive of him, even back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And the fact that she didn't live long enough to see her son come back to her, that really hit me in a bad place. Because like the dads were really a big part of why the whole suicide scene happened. But the mom had been very supportive, and I really hate that she missed out on this chance. Mm-hmm. So Corn's family. Corn's dad is still alive. I don't know what the hell happened with Corn's mom. That I feel like that was never explained, where she is, what she's doing, anything. His dad is still alive. Unfortunately, Corn's brothers, only one of them is still living. Crit is living. The younger brother is not. Mm. And the dad, I don't know if he just had like a change of heart after Corn died or what, but the dad not only participated in the red string ceremony when they died, but he also bought the building that their condo was in and has been paying to maintain the condo this whole time. He let his other son become a police officer, and he kept a box of mementos in the family library of Corn and In. I will let you discuss what happens after Parm discovers the box of mementos.
What happens next is possibly the worst scene in the entire show. So Parm meets his grandpa, who is Corn's dad, and he finds this box of the memorabilia, and he finds the gun that they used to kill themselves with. And he, Fluke, going for the Oscar, okay? Let me tell you. He just starts crying. He starts wandering the streets. And was it raining?
Yes.
Yeah. So
out of nowhere.
You know, got to make the scene more dynamic, you know. So we added rain, crying. and he goes to the place where he and Korn died the first time, and Dean shows up, and basically Parm just has like a fucking meltdown, like complete meltdown. He starts being like, you did this, you really hurt me in our past life, you're the one that's hurt me the most in my life. And he's like threatening to kill himself, and then old man shows up, and then his uncle shows up, and then Sai is there for some reason, and you're like, okay, they're here now. And then, for whatever reason, Parm's mom and brother are there, even though, how did they get there? How did they know he was there? What the fuck, weren't they in America? Like, they just are there, they offer nothing, they just stand there, and then it's like, I don't even remember, I watched it this morning, and I don't even remember how it got resolved. I think they talked him down, and then we cut, and the grandpa is like dying in the hospital bed. And you're like, well, okay, that happened, and we're just gonna move on.
I mean, it was just so...
It was very out of character, very confusing. Honestly, the last episode was a little weird.
But you know why this is so fucking weird? Pacing.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about pacing. We spent so much time meandering around Christmas lights and trips to waterfalls and all this other bullshit that they realized they could not milk this story for any longer, and they slammed everything they wanted to get across into the last 2 episodes.
Yeah. They meandered for episode 7. Meandered for like 8 episodes, and then we're like, fuck, we got a story to tell. And here we go.
Yeah. It's horrible pacing. It's not. It honestly almost ruins the show. It almost ruins the show. And it almost ruins the show because we did get answers that we wanted to have at the end, and that's important. We needed those answers. But I almost feel like the answers we got weren't even questions I was really asking, to be quite fair.
Yeah.
I mean, finding out how Dean is connected to In Touch's family, that is a question that we got an answer for. Finding out how Parm is connected to Korn's family, that is a question we got answers for. But I did not need the reconciliation scene with his dying daddy. That didn't need to happen. I didn't need to have Korn in Dean's body apologizing for bringing so much stress and pain to everybody else, because what they didn't do, which they should have done, the dad should have apologized to his son.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that. This kid shot himself in the head. It ruined everything. It changed the whole entire family dynamic. You couldn't even be there at the birth of your grandchild by your youngest son because the family was so alienated by this event. And you did not take your dying breath to say, son, I wronged you. Mm-hmm. And the last piece of business that we have before I leave this earth is I have to tell you how sorry I am for all the mistakes I made. Mm-hmm. And that didn't happen. And the fact that that didn't happen means that, to me, this last scene of everybody together in the apartment was useless. Because Parm doesn't get anything out of this. He really doesn't. None of this is for him.
It was just like, they were like, we need a climax. And then they wrote this. It wasn't built up from anything. It just kind of happened. And then the aftermath of it, like, you could have cut that scene out and I don't think you would have lost anything.
Yeah.
Like, really and truly, if you cut that out, like, you didn't learn anything. There wasn't a big downfall from it. So what happened?
Honestly, I could tell you exactly where you could stop this section and it would be fine. When you get to the scene where Sin is talking to his dad and he finds out that Korn was his uncle and about, the suicide and everything else, you could have cut it at that, and then Sin could have had a conversation with Dean and Parm and say, listen, Dean asked me to find out some information about this couple, and there was one person I couldn't find out the information from, but my dad finally told it to me. This is the missing piece. That could have been an entire just sit-down conversation at Soren's restaurant, and then we could have moved the fuck on. We didn't need the rest of this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it really, it, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. And then also, I have to say, I noticed something on the second watch that I didn't notice the first time. The questions that Parm had about whether him and Dean actually loved each other or if it was because they are the reincarnations of Corn and In. I get that. I see why that's a debate in your mind. But Dean already had that conversation with himself many, many episodes ago.
Mm-hmm.
Part of him trying to find out what happened with Corn and In Touch, I believe, was him trying to get that wrapped up and so he could move on with his life with Parm.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a scene where they're outside of the grandmother's house on Anne, who's Dean's grandmother, and he tells Parm, "You're Parm, you're going to meet my grandmother. You're In Touch, you're going to meet your sister." So he's already kind of delineating that, like, there are these two parts of us.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these parts matter. If you're uncomfortable with anything that's going on with any of the parts of yourself, let me know. But understand, you're going to meet her as your sister, but also I'm still Dean, you're still Parm, and this is part of Dean and Parm's relationship that's also happening right now. And
Right.
I don't understand why that couldn't have been a conversation that they had back then. And then later on, they wouldn't have had to have the breakup because they can already acknowledge, yes, we have this very connected history, but there's a lot of the two of us growing up in the 21st century that is our own.
Yeah.
So, drama.
Yeah. Well, you know, they needed something to happen the last few minutes of the episode.
I guess so. I
Okay.
get it.
Wait, you know what scene I might be dumb. I don't get this scene, and I remember we talked about it when it first aired that we were confused. What was that scene in the very last episode where Corn and In, like, leave? You know? Like, did they leave their bodies? Were
Thank
they
you!
them?
You are so fucking brilliant.
Can't tell
Thank
if
you
it's,
so
like,
much.
dumb and I didn't get it, or if it's just poorly told. Because,
Okay.
right?
Not only do we not know if this means that, like, In and Corn have left their bodies, because if that is the case, the next time they see On again, she's not going to know her brother's gone, and I don't know how they're going to tell her.
Yeah.
But also, immediately after Parm has this dream, he gets up, wipes his eyes, runs for the door. Dean is standing outside the door and says, "I've had this dream." When did you have this dream? Were you sleeping outside of Parm's door waiting to have a dream? And, like, as soon as he wakes up, I'm ready for it. Because if y'all had the dream at the same time, then you aren't at his front door. You're at your house.
Mm-hmm.
And you two are crossing each other on the road to get to each other's houses. So did you, like, get the dream in just enough time for you to wake up, put on clothes, get on the car, and drive over to Parm's house? Like, what is the logistics of this?
I'm more confused about the ghost thing. That I can forgive. I need answers on the logistics of the ghost thing more. And I mean, it's probably told in the books. If you do know, please tell us kindly. I don't need you to condescendingly tell me how I'm stupid and I, just wasn't paying attention in the right way because I got that from Game Boys and I don't really need that this time. Sorry, if you know, in like an interview, please let us know kindly what's happening. Aggie might know because she really loves this show. So
I have to surmise that scene was supposed to be symbolic of the fact that everything that was our business in this lifetime is now settled. So anything that happened with you and Dean is no longer about us. It's about you guys. Like, that's what I'm assuming that means.
Me too.
But yeah, you could have told it a little bit better, but I still am not over the logistics of dream transport.
He was sleepwalking, Sam.
I feel like he must have been sleeping in Sin's apartment, like, any day now that bitch is going to call me and I need to be next door. That's all I can assume. That or he's sleeping in the hallway. There's no way for him to get from his house to Parm's house that fast. It just doesn't make sense. Physics. Okay. So one last thing I want to say. because I don't think it gets enough credit for how brilliant it is. The best scene in this entire series, and I mean, I'll fight you. I will fist fight you in the comments. The best scene of this entire series is Korn and In on the beach when Korn asked In to be his boyfriend. There has not been a better kind of be my boyfriend scene in Thai boys love that I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the scene that made me really sad that I didn't get to see more of Korn and In as boyfriends.
Yeah. You see them getting together, you see a little bit, but for the most part, it's death. So
Yeah, it's just sadness. It's sadness on top of sadness on top of sadness. The only times we get where they're doing kind of like boyfriendy get to know you stuff is the cooking scenes where In is a terrible cook and Korn's like, what is this shit? Like, you get those. But I mean, this scene where like at the same time, will you be my boyfriend? And In's like, are you drunk? And then finally he's like, no take backsies. You can't say you were drunk. You can't say you were high. You can't do anything to negate the fact that you asked me to be your boyfriend.
mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, this feels very real. Even though I know this is a very fantasy-esque sequence, this felt very real because we kind of see the work that In has put in to just convincing this guy to even give him a chance to court him, and then to be asked to be his boyfriend, and it's not coerced and you don't have to convince him. He asked you. It's just like, I can't even imagine that joy.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved it, and I thought that, the picking him up in the air and spinning him around and the kiss. Also, quiet as it's kept, Parm and Dean have shitty kisses. Korn and In Touch have fantastic kisses. I don't understand it. Like, Fluke is used to kissing men. Why are you so terrible at giving the kisses in this show? Because we saw you in Red Wine and the Dark Knight. You're not a bad kisser. What the fuck happened here?
Uh-huh.
But yeah, best scene in this entire show. I wanted to live in Korn and In Touch's world after I saw that scene.
Yeah.
And one last unfinished business, and this matters to nobody, honestly, but it's a thing that I wish had been kind of at least alluded to. What happened to In Touch's best friend? We had like more than one scene of In Touch's best friend, both during the courtship and after In Touch passed away.
Who cares?
I know you're not a fan of Perth as an actor. I know that.
No,
but I don't know.
I think Perth is a really good actor.
I just feel like the fact that they gave him so many lines and made him seem like he was the only person in their world that supported these two as a couple, I kind of wanted to know what happened with that guy. It would have been cool for me, and this would have been an extra scene. It would have been cool if like the coach of the swim team, the adult coach, had been the best friend of Korn and In. Like, that would have been a cool little, you don't have to do much to it, just, button it up and like, oh, so that's what happened to that guy.
Yeah. And I'm okay without it. I'm not mad.
So are we ready to give reviews?
Yeah.
Okay. Strong 8 for me.
I'm going 8.5. I think that the cast is really good and the overall dynamics work for me.
I do too. I feel like in terms of enjoyment and, like really being invested in it, I think that's the reason why I arrived at an 8, because I really enjoyed it up until the pacing issues started to happen. And also, like I said, we discussed at length, the way that they try to ramp up the excitement in a nonsensical way really brought the series down for me. Probably if I was being more generous, I would give it an 8.5. I would say it's definitely on par with Game Boys in terms of like successful storytelling, in my opinion. But I just feel like with the budget that they had, with the director that they had available and everything else, that they really should have taken more time to build the entire story instead of focusing on longevity of the series and trying to like pull things out so they could get more episodes out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair. I think I'm giving it an 8.5 because I think that it's one of those series where the good parts outweigh the bad parts for me. And like thinking back on it, there's like a pacing issue, but I'm very fond of when I think back on it. And it makes me, and I have like a weird fondness for it that makes me very excited for Between Us coming out next year. Like this only made me more excited for Between Us. So I was like, it's gonna be good, and I can't wait to see Il-hoon and Jimin fuck. Like, thank you. Which I love, by the way, that they look very specifically like two K-pop idols.
I mean, honestly, Boone looks like he's Il-hoon's twin brother. There's no difference between those two faces.
Mm-hmm. And
I
then,
think that, you know what would be funny? If at one scene in the space between us, at some point you hear Yena's roll deep in the background, that would make me gag.
they start fucking to that song.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
I love it. Nah, but Ollie London found Shook. Like he paid a lot of money to look like Jimin, and then poor team over here is like, I was born with it.
Yeah, maybe it's Maybelline. Yeah, it's just great. It's great. I can't wait for it. Also because on this rewatch, I realized how much was also unsaid between them. Like they start flirting from the first couple of episodes where he's like in the locker room and he pulls off his towel and he's got on the boxer shorts. The flirting starts very early on, but we actually don't understand when it switched from flirting to like everyone knows that we are fucking and attempting a relationship. Because when they're in the cafeteria or the restaurant, when they're on the swim team trip, like team tells Parm, like, hey, do you need ointment? You need to eat protein. You're going to be tired because you just got that ass tore up. And it's an unsaid acknowledgement, like, both of us got our asses tore up last night. And I'm just like, when did this become a thing that other people knew about? So,
I really think that they were holding it close because they were, like, praying for a season, for a spin-off.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. Their last scene in the show is ultra weird, though. Like, is team developmentally displayed because he's like, here's the order. Go in there and see if you could do the order on your own.
And then he forgets the order. Like, write it down.
You're a university student. You can't order a fucking bubble tea by yourself. Get the fuck out of here.
He was like a half-sweet caramel frappuccino with like a pump of vanilla. And he was like, I don't understand what you're saying to me. And it's like, it's not hard, team. It's not hard.
You're studying economics. You can't figure out one coffee order.
Also, were they really only fucking? Because it seems like they had a lot of time where they were just talking, like, on the bus and stuff. They really knew nothing about each other. Like, I feel like the facts that they told us when they were like, oh, I want to know more about you in this last scene that we have together, are facts that you could pretty much get. They're very basic, like team being like, I really like to eat food. It's like, yes, we know. I feel like that was obvious based on all of the scenes that you have had with Win, that you like to eat food. Like, I don't know.
You're a human. Most humans like to eat food.
Yeah. So it's like
I think it'd been more weird if he had said, I actually don't like food. I just eat it because I need fuel to swim.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think the space between us will be cool. I definitely want to see that progress because actually their fucking timeline is different in the novel. In the novel, team actually is already on the swim team before school starts. And they have a before school starts kind of like training camp or whatever. And on the last night of training camp, everybody is like super duper drunk. And Win is just checking on all the juniors, making sure everybody is safe or whatever. And he comes across team masturbating, but team's like having a hard time getting off because there's no porn available or something. And he's like, hey, let me help you out with my mouth. Blah, blah, blah. And that is how their no strings attached relationship starts before the school year even starts, before there's any Dean and Parm. And they are friends with benefits for a pretty long time. And then one day, I guess, Win notices, like, I just had a non-sexual emotion about this person. Maybe I should follow this up with some more non-sexual interactions and engage what that feeling is. And that's what it is. Because the space between them is that they define themselves as friends with benefits. Can they pass that space into being boyfriends? So, I mean, I'm excited to see it. I am absolutely excited to see it. And I think that scene of him not being able to sleep and going to Win's room is like the start of that, we're more than friends with benefits type of thing.
Mm.
But yeah, like they can't air their origin story on TV.
I also think I don't know how I feel about this origin story either. Oh, you're drunk and I'm gonna suck a cock.
I mean, I'm not sure how drunk Team is. I just know that like everybody is drinking and getting drunk that night. And he's like, I'm so hard, but there's no porn and I'm having a hard time getting off. He's like, oh, well, here, borrow my mouth real quick.
Mm.
I mean, I guess that's what bros do. I don't know. I've never been in that situation.
Yeah, I don't know. But it was weird in the beginning where Team was like, oh, I got into the school from my swim scholarship. And then the next scene, he's like, I'm going to go try out for swim team now. I was like, wait, how did you get the swim scholarship? But you still have to try out.
Yeah, like that's not how that works.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's apparently their origin story. Speaking of Win and Team, this is a personal gripe. I have it because I'm watching a lot of Filipino boys love, and they actually seem to do things the other way around. I noticed in a lot of Thai boys love, the main couples are always like the super soft and fluffy couples, and the secondary couples are always like the super zany, exciting, kind of firecracker electric couples. And I'd just like to know why it is that is the pattern for these shows. Because like in Filipino boys love, I noticed the firecracker couples seem to be the main couples. Most of their shows really only revolve around one couple, by the way, but still, like, there's always a lot going on, a lot of dynamics, a lot of tension going on. And in numerous Thai boys love, if there's more than one couple, it seems like the tamest couple is the lead couple, and the other couples are always like something exciting and fun happening with them. And I noticed this the most watching Your Gear, My Gown and Your Gear. So that's the show that director New, who did the direction for Until We Meet Again, is doing for GMM TV. And in that show, the two main characters are like watching paint dry.
Mm-hmm.
There's no chemistry at all. By the way, this is Samantha's rant. There's no chemistry at all. Meanwhile, JJ and Fiat, who are the secondary friends, you could tell that they are just itching to rip off their clothes and fuck.
What's up, though?
Apparently they're not a couple. At least what I was told is that they're not a couple. Maybe they'll change things. I don't know. Because there is a scene where Fiat has a woman grabbing one arm and a man grabbing the other arm, fighting over him. And he's like, I can't help it that I'm so sexy. So already bisexuality confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a stretch to think that he could be sleeping with JJ. But I just really want to know, like, why is it that we don't want exciting main couples? And this is from somebody who watched a lot of K-dramas before they got into boys love shows. And in K-dramas, it's not uncommon to have a super zany main couple. So I just kind of want to understand, is this a Thai thing and that's the reason why we're doing it like this, since that's not what we're seeing in Filipino boys love? Or is this just a matter of like the director having a preference, and a poor preference at that?
Maybe it's a preference. He picks the safe couple to go main with.
Maybe, because like I noticed that in Love by Chance, like Pete and A are the main couple. They're super tame. Until We Meet Again, Dean Fluke, they're super tame. Even Oxygen, the series, the main couple there is Solo and Guitar, and they're sickeningly tame. And I don't know. It's a kind of go-to that I don't want to go to anymore.
Right.
Give me some heat. Even like, honestly, together, the tamest couple, Sarwat and Tyne.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Well, November brings us Manner of Death and Tharn Type 2, so we get some zest.
I cannot wait to see Max Tull fucking. It's been so long. So there's that. That is my rant complete. Even though I'm watching a ton of shows right now. I just started another show. I'm not gonna give you a synopsis of every show. I'm just gonna say I'm watching Hook Up, Quarantine Things, Oxygen, My Gear, Your Gown, My Day, A Chance at Love, Mr. Heart, In Between, I'm Team Me Too, like the movies. And Extraordinary started today. I'm watching a ton of shit from all over the world. And yeah, Friend Zone is the thing I'm the most excited about watching. Out of all the boys love I just mentioned, Friend Zone is the show that I have been dying to see part 2 for ever since they said a part 2 was going to happen. Even though like there's other stuff I like too, obviously like new shows that I've been looking forward to. I'm just going to talk about this very briefly because I don't think this is a show we'll end up reviewing because I don't know if Mason wants to deal with all the het. But Friend Zone is about the messy relationship between friends who have known each other since they were in college. And there's a lot of boundaries that are crossed in Friend Zone and a lot of violations of the Friend Zone, if you will, that consist of the story. Part 2 is kind of where we left off with all these people in their lives, plus going back to university and seeing where their relationships actually first started getting screwed up. And the reason I bring it up here is because Mason was kind enough to share with me a tweet about the fact that the Not Good Vibes twin is in Friend Zone too, getting it in with Plus Store. And I watched the show, and if you like soap operas, if you're a person who enjoys drama and messy bitchness, this is the show for you. Because the scene that Mason saw was a scene where Plus Store, who used to work at the same ad agency with JJ, is in the bathroom pissing and also like making the eyes at the guy in the urinal next to him like, hey, you wanna fuck later on? And so JJ walks into the bathroom while these two are like eye fucking over the urinal. The guy who's not one of the main characters, he like leaves because he's like, oh, I'm embarrassed. And so Plus Store is like, you ran off my date for the night. I'm still horny. You want to go back home and hook up? They go back to the place. They hook up. He knows that JJ has always been in love with him, has been hooking up with him for months because he's always really had a emotional attachment to him. He tells him after they're fucking like, I mean, I know that you like me, but when have I ever told you I liked you back? And I was just like, even though he's not the good twin, it's just like, why would you say that to somebody?
That's fucking harsh.
And he's like, pro tip, just because someone's fucking you doesn't mean they like you. And that's the last thing he says to JJ before JJ puts on his clothes and gets out the door. So again, like I said, if you want some messy bitchness, definitely watch Friend Zone 2. Also, Singto, who's one of our personal faves, is in Singto 2 in another gay relationship, so that's exciting. It's a mature gay relationship. Right now, he's without a job. His boyfriend is a doctor, and he went to a party for his boyfriend's friend, and everybody's like, oh, I see you got a little house husband. He's looking cute. You on a diet, sweetie? And, like, it makes him feel bad because he's without a job right now by choice because he resigned from an ad agency where he was actually like on executive level. So it's kind of hard for him because he had his own agency, he had his own job, and now he's kind of like being reduced to like the cute little twink that Dr. Sam is putting up with.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see how their relationship goes as well. Also because Plustar fucked Dr. Sam and both he and Singto were best friends in the first season. Drama. All right, Mason.
All right, Instagram
of the day.
We're switching it up. So first one is Fluke Natouch, who plays Parm. We love him. What a great actor. We love to see someone a bit more feminine touch get some screen time. By the way, if you've ever read the blog Psycho Milk, I don't know whoever wrote that blog, if they're on here. I saw your post.
Mason's rant of the day! Mason's rant of the day. Please do it. Do it.
So I was looking up like recaps and reviews of Until We Meet Again. And there is a blog that I found called Psycho Milk, and they do a lot of Boys Love recaps and reviews. There was in like one of the episode reviews for Until We Meet Again, they literally made this whole post. You know what? I sent it to Sam, so I can find it real quick.
Yes. Tell them. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but like, tell them, please. because they need to hear this nonsense.
It genuinely offended me. As a feminine gay man, this shit really offended me. And it made me genuinely mad. And this is the problem with the boys love community. While I advocate for equality, I do prefer to have my BL couples to be straight. It's a personal bias, pure and simple. It's like when bitches say, oh, no fats and no blacks on their Tinder profile. It's personal bias. Yeah, eat shit. I have been sitting on the fence on this one. I like Fluke a lot, yet there is this nagging feeling that it could have been different if someone with a less androgynous physicality was cast. However, this character requires a seasoned BL actor, and there is no one more capable than Fluke. At least we can agree he's good at acting, but fuck him for being a little bit more feminine. And then, food for thought. The biggest appeal of BL for me is that I am completely aware that the lovers in the series are played by straight actors.
Did this person go to the James Charles School of Finding a Boyfriend?
I guess so. When I see Om Pawat romancing Singto, Tae Tawan kissing Nu, or Mew Supposit having sex with Gulf, I don't have any lingering feelings of doubt. This doubt is more pronounced with Earth, who plays one of the couples in the past. He plays In Touch. I have never been a fan of Earth. I just thought of him as more effeminate than most who play the uke role. Basically saying, bitch is too femme for me, even though his acting is really good and he's a very talented actor and does the role of In Touch perfectly. You know, he's too effeminate. Bitch, this is a gay show. It's very disrespectful. It's extremely rude. And honestly, just straight up offensive. Like, low-key, go fuck yourself. Not even low-key, go fuck yourself. How dare you?
I don't know if the person who wrote this is a woman or a man. We had two different reactions. When I thought it was a woman, I'm like, well, obviously this is an idiot.
But then I looked at the article, it clicked on the author, and the photo was a man, but it wasn't a boys love actor. So I was like, oh, maybe this is just a gay man who has intense internalized homophobia. As one of those people that's like, no femmes. Like, only, like, mask for mask. He's a mask for mask type of guy. Which I don't get. Like, it's a show about gay people. Why are we not having honest gay representations? Like, I'm not saying every gay man is effeminate, but there are a lot of more effeminate gay males. The stereotype for gays is an effeminate gay male. So, what are we doing here, guys? Also, it's very weird that some of the names that they mention as people who are undoubtedly straight ring my gay.
You is not.
So, oh wow.
So oh my God. I thought about this. No, I thought about this before we had our discussion today, and I was like, internalized homophobia, internalized racism, internalized colorism, internalized misogyny. A lot of times those internalized phobias are socially covered up, and people don't have to address their internalized phobias by utilizing respectability politics. And so they say, it's not me. It's not that I have a problem with it. It's just that in order for us to be taken seriously by our oppressors, we have to be these check boxes in order for them to take us seriously. Mm-hmm. What a lot of people don't realize, on the one hand, respectability politics comes from fear and survival. Right. People wanting to survive and not wanting to be put in danger, put on this veneer of straightness and whiteness and whatever they need to get by. The other part of it is, how do we expect to not live in fear if we don't start making the masses accept us for every version that we come in? And that's when you really do need to confront your preference for your actors being straight and say, why is it that I prefer for my actors to be straight? Why am I uncomfortable seeing an effeminate person on screen? And I have no doubt the person who wrote that is probably a very effeminate man, and it probably makes him uncomfortable because he's uncomfortable.
So I'm saying, got some internalized homophobia he has got to work through.
Yeah, and so we have to start reveling in the things that make us uncomfortable. Emmy Made in Japan had this really interesting discussion while she was making some horrible food about how she laughs when she's uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. But she loves being in uncomfortable situations because when she's uncomfortable, she learns a lot about herself because she asks herself the question, what is it about this situation that's making me uncomfortable? My reaction is to laugh because I'm trying to take out the tension, but why is there tension here? And I think that's something we all need to do. Confront yourself about, why am I uncomfortable with this? What is it about this situation that I don't like? There's certain things that we should all be uncomfortable with no matter what. But there's other things that, like, if it's just you, why is it just you?
Right.
Instead of trying to get other people to buy in to your bias.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Instagrams.
Sorry. So first up is Fluke. His Instagram is FLUKE_NATOUCH. Pretty straightforward. We stan. He can't take a bad photo ever, apparently. Up next is Kuhart, who plays In Touch. His Instagram is very simple. It's just Kuhart. COOHEART. No dashes, no spaces, just Kuhart. Also can't seem to take a bad photo. So we stand.
And we didn't talk enough about it, but he's brilliant in this show. He's very standout in this show. Like, Kuhart was so good as In Touch that I felt like Fluke felt like a washed away version of the In Touch from the past. Because that guy was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, since this is the Upside Down world, Mason's doing the Instagrams and I'm doing the manga of the day. The manga of the day for me is a series called A Guy Like You. Now, I'm just going to tell you ahead of time, I'm not finished with this yet. So I don't know if it ends poorly or not, so don't blame me if it ends shitty because it's not my fault. I already told you I didn't finish it. But I am about halfway through. I think I'm at chapter 46 of 87 chapters. And it has a really interesting premise to me. This guy finds himself in dreams with a classmate from university, but these are like really real dreams. So like if something happens to him in the dream, like let's say he falls down, he wakes up in the morning with a bruise. And so it's him trying to figure out, why are we meeting in dreams? Why is it that when we meet in dreams, you seem to have like really negative feelings towards me as if I did something to you and I don't remember or know you? And them kind of both unraveling the threads of their past. One of them knowing a lot more about their past than the other one, but I enjoy it. I think the art style is really cool. It's a full color BL. That's one of the things that some of y'all are looking for. It's completely in color, so that's really, really nice. And it's really, really popular, and I can see why, because it's a very interesting BL premise. A lot of like, we knew each other in the past, now we know each other in the future, but there's a gap there that needs to be filled in. It's getting a little weird. There's this kind of creepy guy from China who has entered the scene, and I don't like him because he has a magical stone and things are happening, but I enjoy it. I really enjoyed reading it. I recommend it. It is a thing that I'm having a really fun time going through. And if you enjoy kind of fated stories, this would be one of those kind of soulmate fated stories for you. And so there you go.
All right. So now we're in a problem because we didn't discuss what we're going to watch next week yet.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
We did?
We did. Are you super busy next week?
I don't know.
Okay. We're watching Diary of Tootsies. Yay!
I cannot watch 2 full seasons and a movie of a show next week.
You don't have to watch 2 full seasons, just 1.
Oh, just season 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because season 1 I think is the only one that you can like legitimately watch on YouTube. I don't think season 2 is out there, but season 2 was not subbed for YouTube. So if you want to watch, you have to watch it on like Facebook and Daily Motion and like just go through a bunch of problems to try to watch season 2. Ain't nobody got time for that bullshit. Go ahead and put some captions on that shit and put it on YouTube. But season 1 is fully subbed on YouTube legally, so we can watch it on YouTube. It will be fun. So we're just going to do season 1. But Diary of Tootsies is something we've been talking about for a really long time. And I'm super excited to finally watch it with Mason. I've already watched it. I think you can tell I've already watched it. But it's a really great show for us to watch because out of all the Thai boys love that we have talked about, this is the most different, out the box thing that we've discussed.
Oh yeah, it's complete comedy, super campy, really fun. They're in drag half the time. I love it.
Yeah, like just in drag randomly. Just like, hey girl, what's up? We're meeting at the coffee shop. Drag.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
On my heels today.
Oh man, so
And you get a lesbian character, a main character.
yes, this is our first show where we have a confirmed lesbian as well. Diary of Tootsies, a revolution. Also, the fact that this is something that we don't really talk about a lot, about the creators of series and their sexual statuses and things of that nature. This entire series is written by a gay man. This is basically his life story about him and his friend group. So that's also really exciting, because this is not from the point of view of somebody who's looking to create material suited for straight women and young boys. This is somebody who is a grown-up, who has lived a life and is like, this is my story. Me and my friends kiki all the time. Would you like to join in? Here you go.
It really feels like it's made with love.
Yeah, and so we're very excited to talk about it, because it is what we wish we could get more of out of the medium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Goodbye.
Bye.